Hello everybody, I'm Roy McCoy and welcome back to the latest episode of my series, What Happened To?, where we choose a game and or series from history that has seemingly disappeared and we ask the questions, what was it? Was it any good? And could we ever see another one in the series? And today, we are looking at the Star Wars Force Unleashed series. Now, personally, I love Star Wars, and there have been some absolutely phenomenal Star Wars games. For me, Knights of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic 2. I also need to say that I really enjoyed Jedi Fallen Order, and there was an old turn-based space strategy called Supremacy in the UK, and I think it was given the name Rebellion in the US. There are so many games to choose from. That was just a handful. So let me know in the comments below which has been your favourite Star Wars game to date. Now, Star Wars Force Unleashed. I have to say that this series does have a special place in my heart. More the first game than the second one, but they both have some kind of special place in my heart. So without further ado, let me take you on a trip through time and space. Back to the year 2008, when Force Unleashed was unleashed on the world on PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. Now, it did release on other consoles and it came to the PC and Mac a little bit later on, but this channel is all about the PlayStation, so that's what I'm focusing on. Now, in a nutshell, this game was a third-person action-based experience. Your main powers were the Force and your lightsaber. How cool does that sound already? You gained experience points from killing enemies and also finding artifacts, and there were combo systems, and the game was just really fun. It was an action-packed and fast-paced game. Graphically, it also looked absolutely superb, and this game still holds up. I know it's 12 years old, but if you can find yourself a copy, preferably on the PlayStation 3, go and get it. Or maybe even on the PC or Mac now. Go back and get it and play it because it is a great game. And your character has so many cool powers. He was able to use Force Lightning, throw his saber. There was Force pushing. This game was really cool for its time. And I have to say, I think the best part of this game was basically the plot. Now, Force Unleashed 1, 2, and its proposed sequel that never happened, Force Unleashed 3, were designed to link the events of the original trilogy to the prequel trilogy, that one with Jar Jar Binks in. So, effectively, it was set before A New Hope and after Revenge of the Sith. Now, at the start of the very first game, you take control of Vader, and effectively the whole game is focused on the Jedi Purge, killing and wiping out all of the Jedi. And in the first part of the game, you're hunting down one of the surviving Jedi, and upon killing him, you steal his son, called Galen, and turn him into your apprentice. What is it with sons and becoming apprentices and turning to the dark side in the Star Wars saga? So, behind the Emperor's back, Darth Vader trains this apprentice, Galen, who he later calls Starkiller. Now, at this point, I'm kind of hoping there is a link between Force Awakens having Starkiller base and this kid being called Starkiller. I hope that's a thing. I don't know. Tell me in the comments below if it is a thing, because that's bloody cool. So, effectively, Vader sends Starkiller out to hunt down the Jedi, become more powerful, and then, in the end, kill the Emperor. This is the big plan of the game. So, in the first game, Starkiller heads out and he kills Jedi, and one Jedi warns our little Starkiller that the Sith always turn on each other. So anyway, having fulfilled his mission, he returns to Vader in the promise of killing the Emperor and ruling the galaxy as Vader and Starkiller. Starkiller Skywalker. What is it with this franchise? Well, anyway, as previously mentioned, all Sith turn on each other, and upon arriving back, Vader kills Starkiller to prove his loyalty to the Emperor, but then betrays the Emperor again by reviving Starkiller, thinking he still has a use. So then Vader basically sends him out to foster a rebellion, create a rebellion against the Emperor in Vader's overall scheming plan to once again defeat the Emperor. I mean, if this makes much sense to you, I mean, poor old Starkiller. So anyway, skip to the end of this game and effectively you have a face-off against the Emperor. And this is where you choose the ending of the game, if you get a light side ending or a dark side ending. So you can either defeat Vader and become the Emperor's new right-hand man, or you can try and defeat the Emperor, but get saved by your friend who refuses to allow you to turn to the dark side by killing the Emperor. And that is the light side ending. Now, all in all, I love the artwork, I love the plot, I love the gameplay. I really enjoyed this game and I think it's highly worth a playthrough. However, even though I enjoyed this game and it made a lot of money, it wasn't very highly reviewed. The metascore at the moment of making this video is 71 and the user score is only 6.7. But regardless of that, I really enjoyed this game, and probably if you've got to this point, you did too. And because this made a heck of a lot of money, Force Unleashed 2 hit our shelves. Coming in 2010, it hit the PlayStation 3. And it was once again an action-based platforming hack and slash adventure. And it was a great little game, but not as good as the first one in my opinion. No, for me, this somehow felt a little bit rushed. It maintained a lot of the core mechanics, and it maintained a lot of the fun gameplay, but there was something a little bit rushed about this entry into the series. In this game, you play the clone of Starkiller. Like, if you can't have the original character, why not just clone them? Well, anyway, after getting away from Vader, you decide to search out your history and find out who your... if you're a clone, what was the original donor cell was? Who Starkiller really was. And you find his love interest, who was a character called Juno from the first game. And then you end up joining the Rebel Alliance and blah blah blah, and this is the game. There was also a lot of fan service from memory. I believe Yoda was in there, and also Boba Fett was tasked with tracking down your love interest, Juno. And at the end of the game, you basically come up against Vader. Once more, you face this Dark Lord with your faithful friend and mentor, Kota, who was in the first game, and basically fulfilled the same role of being the guy that convinced you not to kill the Emperor out of hate. And right at the end of the game, you have two choices. You can turn to the light side or turn to the dark side. With, much like in the first game, the light side ending being considered canon. If you go to the light side ending, you don't kill Vader, and you walk off into the sunset happy in a kind of cliffhanger ending, with Vader being arrested and Boba Fett chasing after him in his ship. If you turn to the dark side, you end up getting murdered by another clone of Starkiller. What is it with clones? This game also came along with some DLC that allowed you to play in the Battle of Endor with Starkiller. Now, all in all, I quite enjoyed this game. However, the Metacritic score doesn't lie. As of making this video, the Metascore is 63 and the user score is slightly higher with 6.7, so not overly well received. However, that wasn't the reason this series ended, because this series, this Force Unleashed series was always planned to be more games, but something changed in the world. Force Unleashed 3 was apparently well underway, but sadly, this and a lot of other Star Wars games got canned for the simple reason that Disney took over the Star Wars franchise. And therefore, many Star Wars games just simply dropped off the map. So now it's my time to answer the inevitable question, will we see another one? We've decided what happened to it. Disney finished it off. Will we ever see another one of these series? Will we ever see a reboot or a remake? Well, probably not. That's the truth. It's probably not going to happen. Because when Disney cancelled that game, when Disney cancelled Unleashed 3, it was finished. And then, to add that final, further nail in the coffin, the games were declared non-canon. This effectively means it does not have a place in Disney's interpretation of the Star Wars universe. Starkiller and the events of The Force Unleashed are resigned to just a memory now. It's not going to happen, but some part of me always wants to know what Force Unleashed 3 would have been about. I'm sure we'd have had more Starkiller, maybe during the period after Return of the Jedi, maybe during the original trilogy, but sadly, we're not going to find out. We're never going to see that game, in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that Disney has kind of signaled the end to it. And considering this game was developed by LucasArts, and now the LucasArts properties are effectively owned by EA, it's quite likely that the entire team has just completely disappeared. In fact, the writer and director of Force Unleashed, a writer called Hayden Blackman, most recently worked on a Mafia 3. So sadly, in my opinion, even though the games weren't overly well received, these are not 9 out of 10s, these are not 10 out of 10s, they were thoroughly enjoyable games, both of them. Preferably for me, I think that number 1 was a lot better. And well worth a play if you do have them. I've got them here in front of me on the PlayStation 3, but I don't think we're ever going to see a new one. So, that was the end of the story of The Force Unleashed, a project that promised to create a world, to create a huge series of lovable games that was killed by an event outside of their control, and the fact that the sequel wasn't that great. So, let me know in the comments below which other series you'd like me to focus on, and indeed what you thought of the Force Unleashed games. But for now, this is Roy McCoy, out.